Hello folks, it's Thursday, February 27th. Thought you might like to see what's been going on here at the Blue Hinds project. Got past all of the touch-up work that was necessary after playing with brake fluid around all the wheels. You can kind of imagine what that led to. You know, as careful as you are with the brake fluid, a little drip here and a little drip there, and pretty soon you got a bunch of touch-ups. Had to pretty much repaint the calipers and touch up the backing plates on the rear drum brakes, and you know, all that good stuff. And it's difficult at best at this stage when the brake lines are there and the shocks are there, and you know, you can't even point the cam properly. Once you get everything all covered up that you don't want to paint, there's no way to point the paint at the part you're trying to paint. Anyway, that's done until the next time it gets damaged. Got the steering wheel in permanently. You notice the hub there that attaches the wheel to the column was black, but it was different than the steering column. So I did that. That was a little more painting. So anyway, the wheel's on there permanent now, I think. And I've been working on these. Obviously the fenders are done on the outside. They're all blue like the rest of the car. The inside had no undercoating on them, and they weren't that good looking, you know, so I figured while they're as easy to access as they are here, they're never going to be this easy again. Now would be a good time to put some undercoat on them. So took me about a day each to get the back side of the thing all cleaned and prepped. And then I was working on it, and I noticed these areas that you see here, all this ribbed area and up here, the upper part of that fender as it's sitting right now goes bolts to the inner fender panel. So on that top flange, I've taped it here. So that's blue, so it matches when you open the hood. That's the blue you're looking at on the inside of the fender. So that's taped so it doesn't get undercoat all over it, but you know, it's like the inner fender panel is going to bolt to the inside of that. You don't want that all fat with undercoating either. So what I've done temporarily here is tape the inside of the fender where it's going to get undercoat and painted the areas where other panels go against that. So this goes against the hinge pocket where the fender mounts. It goes right down on this black part over here on both sides. Again, you don't want that all, you know, I haven't received the paint yet. It's a rubberized undercoating. I'm thinking it's going to be fairly thick, so I don't want that on those areas. So you notice that you see that's still shiny. That's a primer. I just finished shooting that. So that's supposed to sit for 2 to 4 hours before you recoat it. So like 7:30 tonight, I'll come out here and hit it with the, you see the Extreme Chassis Black up there. The second can on the left, there's a whole row of them. That's what that's going to get. That's the whole inside of the firewall and the inside of the engine compartment, the front of the frame, all that is painted with that Extreme Chassis Black. So that's what I'm going to do this with. And then tomorrow, the rest of my paint's supposed to be here, which includes the undercoating stuff for the fenders, the primer that needs to go on behind that. I got radiator paint coming and some paint to do the hinges. You see the hinges laying over here on the bench. They're all bead blasted, sand blasted actually. And so I got some primer for those and I forgot what the color is called. It's kind of a pot metal gray color. And I thought might look good against the black in the engine compartment. And the bottom of the hood, I think, you know what, I got to look at that too. I might have to paint that too. The bottom of the hood. Anyway, that's where we're at this week. No big visual progress to show you, but all stuff that needs to get done. And it's all tedious stuff too that most people are never even going to see. But you know what? When you're doing this stuff, that's what makes the difference between this car and every other car. You know, this one's got a whole lot of detail and time and effort attached to it. So anyway, that's what they're all about. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please comment, and again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the video. Bye. Well, hello, folks. It's March 11th today. We're back at the Blue Heinz garage. I haven't done any videos on this now in, I think, about 2 weeks. The last video, if you recall, I was showing you the fender, undercoating the inside of the fenders was in progress, okay? I continued with that, and this is where that evolved to. You notice the painted areas here are done. This fender, the taping has been removed, and when I did remove the taping, I found that, let's back up a step. On the last video I was showing you, I was preparing it to do the painting that you see exposed here, the black. And I said that my paint, the paint to do the undercoating and the hood hinges and the radiator and whatever else was due that day. Well, as it turned out, the paint did show up that day, but the undercoating was back ordered. So I received everything but the paint that I needed immediately. They didn't have, this was Eastwood, they didn't have the undercoating, it was back ordered, they didn't know when they were going to get it. Meanwhile, my fenders were already all taped up, and you know how you don't want to leave tape any longer than necessary on paint that you're trying to save, because you don't want the paint taking any of the tape off or getting stuck on there where it won't come off. So I went and bought undercoating locally, and I ended up with duplicolor undercoating. Well, you can see here. This is what it looked like after 3 coats of the duplicolor, and you can see here what the duplicolor does. See, look. See, look. It obviously didn't stick. It stuck in some places, like see right here, it's all wrinkled, and you notice, look, it is bare metal underneath it. You see that? Almost bare metal underneath it. How it wrinkled? I think it wrinkled. What happened was I put 2 coats on here and was a little, felt that it was a little short, a little thin. Put a 3rd coat, went and got another can, put a 3rd coat, and it's that 3rd coat is what did this wrinkling. The other fender was worse. So I'm taking it off. I'm gonna do it over. I mean, it's garbage. And what I got instead, these cans are upside down right now because I'm, you know, I mean, it's kind of an asphalt base. I'm trying to get the asphalt, you know, to mix in. What this stuff is the SEM. Again, Eastwood doesn't know when they're going to have theirs. I wanted to use theirs. You see, there's some of the rest of my paint that came in that order. The SEM got good reviews. Everybody said it was good stuff. It costs about 3 times as much, so hopefully that bears the fact that it's better stuff. And we're going to go with that. But before I can go with that, I got to retape that fender and finish cleaning all the stuff that I put on there off of it again. You notice it scraped off real easy with a putty knife. I did everything from this, what do you call that? That bead in the top of the fender. I have to do the rest of that. I'm going to see how solid that stuck. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do all the rest of it. And then clean it again with lacquer thinner and the prep wall before I put the other paint on there. Neither one of these say you need to prime it, and I don't know how much difference that would or wouldn't make, but the directions in both products say you don't need to prime the metal first. And this is all, when I cleaned this the first time, it's all you see the sanding scratches there. It's all sanded and then prepped after sanding it, so you know the stuff should have stuck. At any rate, today what we're going to do today, you notice over here on the wall next to this orange ladder, there's a switch and some pipes coming out of it. That's new and not finished yet. See the wires hanging out there? what I'm doing, this is a transfer switch so that I can connect a generator to supply power here during power outages that our local power supplier, a utility, lately they've adopted this policy where if it gets windy or whatever and their transmission lines are in any kind of risk, they turn the power off, and sometimes for 3-4 days. So we're all in a place now where we're buying generators to overcome that power. I mean, you can't have a freezer with no power for 3 or 4 days. So here I am, I'm hooking up a generator. I'll show you more of that in a couple of other videos. Once I get it prepared, I'll show you the process of doing the wiring. Okay, here's the transfer switch that is going to control where the power to the house is coming from. In that position, the power for the house is coming from the main service, which is on the other side of this wall, on the outside of this wall. The conductors from the main service come down through this can. This was done purposely so I would have access in the garage later on. Right now, you notice the can is deep enough so that it sticks out on this side of the wall, so I can have access to the wiring. This wiring right here, right now, is the wiring coming from the main breaker in the panel out, not the main of the whole building. It's actually a sub-panel breaker, a sub-breaker. A main feeder, but not the main breaker for the whole system. It's a 125 amp 2-pole breaker that feeds the house. It comes out of the service outside, like I said, on the other side of this wall, comes through this can, goes down underground, all the way over to the house, where there's actually, on the house itself, there's another 125 amp breaker. So you can kill power to the house from here at the main service, or you can kill power to the house right at the house itself in the old meter box that was on the house. So what's going to happen now is the wiring that goes to the house, this wiring that currently goes up to the main disconnect that feeds it out there in the main service, is going to come off of that breaker in the service, come up from underground right here, turn around, go back up in this conduit, and to the transfer switch. It'll go to the load side, the center conductors here of the transfer switch. The load side in this case is the center. So you see what happens on this switch. If it's in the up position like it is now, the power comes in the top. From the main service, it goes, you see, it goes through this connection here, these fingers on this switch, and it's going to go out the load side back to the house. Okay, that's, like I said, the ones that I'm going to reroute in there now are the ones going to the house. The ones you see coiled up here are going to go up to the breaker in the main service. That's the other end of these. That's the other end of these conductors that feed the top side. The lower ones here are the ones coming from the generator. That's the power source coming from the generator. So when there's no power on the grid, you switch the transfer. So it'll take the power coming off these bottom ones, the generator supply, and run it to the load side, which is the center. The load is the center all the time. You're just feeding it from the top, or you're feeding it from the bottom. All right, so that's what we're doing. I'll show you what it looks like on the service side, the other side of this wall. Like I said, I've been getting this ready now for a few days. Not working entire, complete total days. You see this pad right here that we're heading towards, and the can there, that's the generator is going to live right here in that area right there. It's going to have a cord coming out of that little can that will plug into the main outlet to 220 volts, a 50 amp 220 volt outlet on the generator. It's an 11,000 watt peak, 8,800 watts, I think, a constant. Here's the main service. This is like I said, the other side of what you were looking at inside the garage. And the main breaker for the house is this 125 amp right here. That I'm going, in fact, I'll turn it off right now. That just killed the house. And there's the main breaker for the entire service. I see I've got this opened up already. So now there is no power anywhere in this entire facility, into this entire building. That just killed it all. This breaker is the welder plug that's inside. The big panel in the garage is fed directly off the main, off of these large conductors. That's 200 amps going to the main panel, the big panel in the garage. So right now there is no power here. The power comes through the meter into the top of the main breaker and goes no further. All right, so here we are. We're going to go and do these conversions. I'm going to cut these tie wraps, remove this, remove the neutral that goes with them, and pull all of that down, and then put the new ones up here and run these over to the inside. So here goes. Show you the rest later, the result later. Well, this is what it looks like all done over. Still no power. I mean, it's still, the main's still turned off here, so there's still no power in this panel. But the wires that you saw all coiled up on the other side of the wall now are this one, and this one. Sorry. So they're back in here, all ready to go. All I got to do is put these covers on. You never turn a breaker on after doing work without the covers on first. Any kind of arc or whatever, you want those covers to protect you from that. So anyway, put the covers on next. Okay, well, this side is live now, and you can see I already turned the switch on for the normal method, the grid powered method. So the house right now has power. I'll show you right now. We'll see, I have this. The tester is hooked to one of the knives of the switch. That's energized right now. Here goes the other one. So there you go. We got real good voltage. I mean, 240 is what's always the recognized, the advertised. This is 251, and typically that happens in older areas. The utility does that. They raise the voltage a bit because as the voltage goes up, the amperage goes down. So in older areas where their wires might be a bit undersized and stuff like that, they do that. They raise the voltage a bit because it lowers the amperage somewhat. It gives the wires a break, the undersized, if there are any wires, a break. 251, that's real good power. You got no problem there with voltage. So that's how this switch works. Right now there's power in the house. And there's power in the garage. The lights are on in here. One last thing I have to do, and that is, you see that plug right there? That's the plug for this welder that's behind me. And the problem with that is, with these conduits underneath that plug, I can't plug the plug in. The plug comes out, the cord comes out of the plug going downhill when it's plugged into those terminals. So what I need to do is take that off of that can, turn it upside down, punch another knockout. The knockout is up here. So what I have to do is take it off the can, punch the knockout down there so I can reverse the plug, put the terminals on the top instead of the bottom. Then when the cord's plugged in, the cord will go out going uphill, away from the conduits. But anyway, the major thing is done. So now I can set the generator up outside. I have a piece of cord that I'm going to put some cord big enough to carry the whole output of the generator, which is this stuff right here. This cord is good for 60 amps. That generator puts out 50. So I'll take a little hunk of that out of that little pull can you see back there. That there. You see that little gray can up there, straight back there with the conduit coming out the bottom? On the right hand side of that conduit, there'll be a cord. This cord, hunk of this cord coming out, and it'll plug into the generator. Anyway, That's all that's left. I might show you that later. I haven't even started the new generator yet, so I got to go through that whole procedure, put oil in it and start it up. I got to decide if I'm going to use gasoline or propane. I think I'm going to do propane because it can sit for months. Unlike gasoline, it can sit for months without going bad. All right, so later, please comment and like if you're so inclined, all our other stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, well, it's all done. Power's back on, as you can tell from the compressor running. The outlet's turned over on the side of that can. I follow it back at the house, everything's cool. On that note, see you later. Thanks for watching.